Can you hear me now? There we go. I think we should be good. Thanks for letting me know. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm too loud, and it turns out I'm muted. So thank you for letting me know that I was muted. All right. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining. It is Sunday afternoon, at least for me, and it's Sunday wherever you are. Welcome to another live stream with me, Mel. Not the traditional content that we usually do here, but it's fun to do every once in a while. But yeah, how is everyone doing? How's everyone's Sunday going? It's finally not raining anymore here. Yes, Cyber Frankie. It sounds like a Verizon commercial. Do they still do Verizon commercials like that? I feel like they stopped that whole "Can you hear me now?" Yes, V10s. It has been a minute. Thanks for joining. Hey Shay, how's it going? Joel, how's it going? Thanks for joining, everybody. I'll be jumping into this quickly, but just want to check how everyone has been doing. It's been really busy. Life has been hectic. Personal life updates have been we're looking for a home. I started a new job like 2 months ago, and we're growing our family. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. And that's why there's been a lot of lack of content. There's also been like delays in content. I filmed something like maybe 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago, and I'm still editing it. But I promise you, it will be probably coming out next week. And it's going to be long. It's probably going to be my longest video yet. And I'm trying to get it under an hour. Nonetheless, but yeah, how's everyone doing? How's everyone's Sunday going? How has everyone been enjoying the spring 2025 anime season? It it feels like it's been like a mixed bag for me personally. Like it's been fun and yes, I work Frankie. It's that. It's been fun and like there have been other components that I've been like really looking forward to and then I'm just like, I don't know how much I enjoyed this anime. There's other anime that have kind of fallen off the wayside for me, and I've been trying to do some catch up. Like just before and earlier today, I was catching up on Your Forma, and that's just because it was supposed to be on some platform, but it's not hard. It's really hard to find, and so I have to watch it on my computer, which I kind of don't love doing. I don't love surfing the seas for stuff, and it's just been like when I have to surf the seas for anime, it's not necessarily like something that's easy for me to keep up with. But yeah, I am going to jump right into it. Yes, To Be Hero X has been really good. I did not suspect it to sneak up on me like that, but we'll get into it. It has been kind of slow since solo leveling. So here's the thing, and this is how I think things go. When anime is released, they release their most popular anime in like winter and fall. And then spring and summer tend to be like a mixed bag. Sometimes the summer tends to be a lot slower because this is the time period where people are supposed to be out. It's summer in Japan, it's summer in the upper part of the earth, like the northern hemisphere. So people are supposed to be out and about and enjoying their lives instead of staying indoors and watching anime. And I feel like last year spring was like really good. This year spring has been like a little bit different, and then the summer is supposed to be like really really hot, like literally really really hot in terms of how much great anime that's coming out that I need to find the time to film that one. So I think that like it being slow since solo leveling kind of makes sense. The winter was really really like packed with amazing anime, but like the spring has been like a lot more chill, and I just think that has to do with like seasonality. That's always been the vibe that anime releases and the points in which they've been released give me like the impression of. But yeah, so I'm gonna take a sip of water because as I do these lives, I'm learning more and more that I need to hydrate. And if you catch me snacking here or there, just ignore me or just let me know I'm being too loud. Do you all see my screen? It looks like my screen is appearing. Yeah? Also, if you're just joining the stream, welcome. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the person who hosts, creates, edits, and does everything on this channel. I am a party of one, a team of one. Also, if you haven't already, make sure you please like the stream. And if you haven't subscribed and you enjoy this, you end up enjoying this live, make sure you do. Yes, Nina, I am. I totally am. All right, cool. So yeah, this at the bottom is the extent of everything that I have been watching overall this season. I'm sure there are a plethora of other anime that I can be watching, and feel free to throw in the chat like what you've been watching that's not on my list. I'd love to hear your thoughts around other anime out there that have been going on like this anime season. LF24 from Threads said I should shout out some slice of life anime that's been going on, like Mono, and Shirley, and then one other one that's not coming to my mind right now. But yeah, I haven't seen any of those. They're not on my list. But I thought I'd shout them out for anyone who is watching them or has been watching like the slice of life a little bit more this season. But the way I like to do this, I'm doing an alphabetical order of what I've been watching because this is the easiest way for me to keep it like mixed and not as biased. First one on my list is Fire Force. I think many of us who have been watching Fire Force for a while have been really excited for Fire Force. And it's been a long time. It's been like 5 years since we got in Fire Force, right? Thanks, Nina. Thanks, Shay. And Nina, yes, I am enjoying Witch Watch, but we'll get to that. For Fire Force, it's been like interesting. The first 3 episodes, and please tell me if I'm just like going off the rail here, just being a little too critical, but the first few episodes of Fire Force was very like too comedic. Like they were being like excessively funny in the midst of action, that it was taking away some of the action scenes. And I felt like they really started to get serious in like episode 4. And then after episode 4 is where we started to ramp up. Saint Shade, hey, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining. So, like Fire Force, I was feeling a little weird for like the first few episodes. Like granted the animation is great. I also think that break, that 5-year break was probably doing something to me like mentally, where it's like, okay, I've been waiting for this to come back for a really long time. Highly anticipated anime return. But like, what's with the slowness going on here? Like, what's with the excessive comedy? And I know that part of Fire Force, there's a lot of comedy. Like, if you've seen Soul Eater, which was done by the same creator for Fire Force, it's very much the same. There's a lot of humor built in, especially in action scenes, especially in fight scenes. But this particular start was not very, like, balanced. But then they decided to balance it out. And I don't know if anyone's seen the latest episode. I think it's episode 7. They're finally starting to drop, like, some massive lore. So now I'm really excited for it. So I want to say that, you know, it's starting to shape up to be great as expected, because I expected it to be great just due to previous seasons and my exposure to it. Yeah, Frankie, not as explosive, literally. And Shade says, I'm going to wait until Fire Force finishes so I can binge it. Honestly, I highly recommend that. I wish that I could just like binge things, even though I've been doing that more and more lately just due to time constraint. Just watching Fire Force week to week has been really agonizing, to the point where I was like, this is the final season. I know that we're breaking this up into 2 different parts, parts 1 and part 2, that's coming out in January, I think, of 2026. But like, where is the explosiveness? Where is the hype? Where is the, this is final season material? You get what I'm saying? But overall, I think it's shaping up to be really great. As of like episode 4 through 7, it's been like amazing. Also, can I just say that along with Sogeking, if you watch One Piece, we now have a new character who is new Enigma. What is it, Moonlight Mask or something like that? Where he's just like, wait a moment. I thought that was so great. But obviously, we all know who that is. Uh, B10s. Is the beginning after the end good? Some people keep trashing the animation, which makes me hesitant. Uh, I'm gonna get to the beginning after the end. T-bait for like people who follow it a lot. There's an acronym for it out there in the community, but you know, I'll get to that. Um, I'm still on season 2 of Fire Force. Joel, I think it's okay to be on season 2 of Fire Force. I think that, like, if you pace yourself and maybe give yourself time to finish Fire Force, by the time it's completely done, you'll be able to remember the story in full. To be honest, I feel like I had to go back and rewatch certain pieces because I was forgetting components of the story. Like they were talking about like certain aspects that's important to the plot, and I'm just like, I don't remember any of this. I know this is important to the plot, but I don't remember any of this. But yeah. All right, moving on to Gundam G-Quax. Yes, that's how it's pronounced if you haven't watched the anime yet, which is airing on Prime. It was like title was really confusing. I was just like GQUUUUUX. Okay, cool. I really was excited for this one just because coming off the high of The Witch from Mercury, which aired I think last year, which was really good. It was Gundam's first time in creating a female protagonist, and the overall story was just very full package for me. Hey Derek, how's it going? Thanks for joining the live. Um, Shay, I've been debating about rewatching Fire Force or my new one happened. Yeah, when I have to wait a long time to watch like the next anime season, it is always so tempting to rewatch the last season. But with the way that like studios have been producing so much more new anime, it's been like really hard to justify a rewatch. Like I have to really sit down and think about, okay, what would a rewatch entail? How many episodes is a rewatch? And should I even bother? Should I just find a recap video? Because there are so many people that love to do recap videos. So yeah, I kind of went to go watch a recap video instead, but the recap video didn't really like give me the reminder that I needed, very sadly. Um Derek, missed the Fire Force section, but I agree, still great despite some legitimate issues with pacing and animation. Yeah, I mean, I actually really like the animation. I saw some people had some problems with the animation, especially in episode 6 when Burns and Shinra were fighting. But I thought it was still really nice. I thought it was still really great. I mean, I don't have any complaints to that, especially because there's been other anime this season that have more questionable animation. But anyway, getting back to Gundam. So I was really excited for Gundam just because of The Witch from Mercury. The first time I've ever seen Gundam was Gundam Wing, which was like, I think the early 2000s. I want to say year 2000, 2001, something like that. And what was really cool about G-Clocks is that it's throwing back, like really far back to like OG Gundam that I haven't seen yet, with like episode 2, some of the music and homages, and the fact that G-Quax is actually like an alternative universe or alternative reality to one of the earlier original stories of Gundam. For the most part, I think it's fun. I don't know how much I could say I love it. I don't know if I could say like it's great, but I think the like mecha fights are really cool. Sometimes I like mecha anime. Gundam, it's its own flavor. Saint Shade, I have not watched any Gundam in a while. Yeah, I feel like I was really into Gundam when I was younger, and like I felt like the models were more accessible to me back then. Now there's like a resurgence in Gundam. There was a couple of Gundams, I want to say, in between, like throughout the years. And what's making me get back into Gundam is The Witch of Mercury, which aired, I think, last year. So I didn't have like expectations for this necessarily. I was going into this being like, all right, the last Gundam was really cool. Let's see what they do with this Gundam. And to be honest, I think it's fun. I think it's cool. I like the animation. So I'm giving it like a I like it. It's good. It's a nice story. It's a good homage to like old school Gundam. And like I like some of the character dilemmas. Gundam, if you don't know, is always been about like war. It's always been about like how do I say this? It's always been about children fighting, sadly. And it's always been like about like this desire for something. At least we're seeing that here with Machu, who's our main character. And she very much plays well to her main character. You know, she's young, she only really knows life living on the colony, and her new friends want to go to Earth. And you could kind of tell that she's bored with life. She finds no entertainment. She goes to this like really prestigious like all girls school, um, like for high academics, and she doesn't want any part of that. Like she wants to live the rough life. She wants to get off the colony. So it's really interesting to see how her character has been evolving in the midst of these other characters who are probably not as well off as she is, or hasn't experienced any war, any strife like some of the other characters have, that we've been introduced in G-Quack so far. Derek says, Episode 6 was great in my opinion. As for Gundam, I would like to watch it since it's anime legend, but it's just how I want to watch the Fate series, but don't know where to start. Yeah, Gundam is like a deep hole. I can't even say like where to even start with Gundam, because I feel like everyone has a different starting point in their journey for Gundam. If you want to see new Gundam, I highly recommend The Witch of Mercury. That one was absolutely fantastic. If you want to see old Gundam, like Saint Shade says, Gundam Wings is my absolute favorite. I thought Gundam Wing was like my introduction to Gundam, and I don't think I was able to connect with Gundam much after that. I think I've also seen Gundam, like Mobile Suit 00, but I felt like Wing was just so captivating for me at the time of when I was watching it. Now, if I were to rewatch it now, that's a different question, because I find myself really thinking about like anime I watched while I was younger and then rewatching it as an adult, and it really hits different. Like it hits completely different. Cyborg says Gundam is it's a real rabbit hole. It's very deep. I heard G Gundam is dope. I G Gundam sounds familiar. I can't say that I've watched it, but it sounds familiar, and it's something that is also talked about often in the Gundam community. But G-Quacks, so far, I think it's cool. If you have Prime, check it out. If you are like, you love the old school Gundam, I think this is kind of, it plays some homage to that, especially in episode 2. Like they bring back like old school characters. But for the most part, I think it's a good time. I think if you are interested in Gundam, you should check it out. The Recovering Lolita says Iron Blood Orphans is a good entry point. Actually, I think my husband enjoyed that Gundam. I personally haven't seen it just because I don't tend to watch like a lot of Netflix anime. I'm doing more and more lately, but now the anime on Netflix that I could potentially watch has been like backlogged until further notice. All right, this next one's gonna be a doozy, because I really didn't like the first episode of Lazarus when they released it on Max, because I don't have the patience to be staying up to watch on Adult Swim, or Adult Swim, where they were airing at Lazarus at like midnight. So I watched this on Max. The unfortunate thing about this being released through Max is that they're promoting and pushing the dubbed. And I said, cool, I'll watch the dub. It's been a really long time since I have like willingly chosen to watch the dubbed first over the subbed. I do sometimes do double time on subbed and dubbed if my husband is also watching that anime, because he prefers to watch it in dubbed. You know, he just doesn't want to have to focus on the animation and reading the subtitles. And I just tend to read a lot faster, so I'm able to like watch sub and also pay attention to the animation, and keep up with stuff. So there has been some dub that I've been watching recently. Like I watched Dandadan in dubbed. I watched Sakamoto Days in dubbed while also watching sub, so I could also like watch it with my husband double time. But when I saw the first episode of Lazarus in dubbed, And there's a lot of people who said it was great, and that's fine. I just couldn't handle it. It felt really monotonous and very robotic. And most people said that was completely fine for them. And I don't think that takes away from like the acting of the dubbed. I think it really depends on your experience, but it was hard for me. And I I thought I was going to drop it for a second. But I said, you know what? They said that they're going to release the Japanese subbed later on. They're going to release it like a month later. And I think they stockpiled on some episodes, or at least the time that I waited for the sub to be released. I was like, okay, I watched basically 5 episodes this past Friday. And I said, all right. So episode 1, I rewatched it in sub. And I said, all right, it sounds better, but I'm still not engaged. Watched episode 2. I said, okay, this episode they're setting up the premise. All right, I can stick around to understand what premise they're trying to set up here, what the team is, who the team is, and how they're going to tackle this. Episode 3, start to see some improvement. I think that's the episode that they go to Turkey and they're trying to discover more about like Dr. Skinner. Episode 4, I think I really enjoyed. I think it was 4. I felt like very differently paced. There was a nice mix of action with other characters, and I felt like I wasn't just like watching Axel. So for me, the sub definitely made it a little bit better to enjoy. But the plot overall just feels not really engaging. I don't know if it's because the characters just don't attract me. I don't know if it's because like the plot just doesn't feel interesting. I don't know if it's because of the pacing. I really don't know. But I cannot seem to really like be engaged. Like there are times that I found myself just being like, is this episode over yet? You know, and that's not the feeling that like I want to feel when I'm watching an anime. Saint Shade says, Lazarus is kind of okay at best, in my opinion. Love the animation though. The animation is nice. I found the animation to be like a little bit, I don't know, inconsistent at times, depending. And I've just got to say that since it's MAPPA doing Lazarus, they have so many projects on their plate. I love when they create like a nice original anime, like what they did with Zenshu. That one was fantastic. But I would like them to go back to some other projects like Vinland Saga, since Vinland Saga manga is wrapping up. Can they go back to those and work on finishing those instead of like working on something like Lazarus? Like Zenshu was great, but you're dedicating your resources to this anime, which is, to be super frank, like super duper mixed bag. Like it's living with between it's okay, I have mixed feelings, to I wanna, and I think I want to drop this. It doesn't, it just feels like I'm just sitting there watching to watch and to see how this ends, to see if they find Dr. Skinner, and to see like, you know, if he really has the cure. Maybe it's a cop out. I don't know. But like that's the reason why I'm kind of like engaged in Lazarus. Anyway, Derek says that Lazarus is interesting. I'm enjoying it, but it could be paced a little bit better. It sometimes feels like it's not progressing. Now the official subs are out. I'll see if it changes the tone. Yeah. I think it might be the pacing. Like the anime is only like 12 to 13 episodes. It's already like, from what I've seen at episode 5, it felt like we were making decent progress, that I was like, okay, it feels like we're making headway. And it seems like there's been improvement on like the blend of humor and action scenes. Like there's been improvement. I will say that there's been gradual improvement. And that's why I say like it's still giving me like mixed feelings. And I don't know if I need one more episode to fully decide whether like this is not for me, or if like I'm okay with it being okay and just being along for the ride. Hey, it's Motions. Yes, there's Lazarus slander in here. I'm sorry. It's just like, it's just not giving. And I understand that like people are loving it. Like people are just like, it's really good animation, it's really good action, they love the parkour, and they're just having fun with the dynamic of like the sequences that's going on. I don't think that's really something that's for me. You know, like I have a hard time with just going along for the ride if it's not a comedy. You know, if it's a comedy and I know I'm just here to laugh, then I'm just here for the ride. I'm just here to have fun. Joel, yes, I need Vinland Saga season 3. The arc is so good in my opinion. Saint Shade says, yeah, I read the manga for Vinland Saga, and let me tell you, season 3 is going to be something else that you didn't see coming. See, that's what I'm really, really like. That's what I want to see Mappa finish, because obviously Wit Studio had it first. Wit Studio obviously shifted some stuff off their plate. Mappa picked them up with season 4 in many parts of Attack on Titan and with Vinland Saga. So I would love for them to be like, hey, let's incorporate this into our production schedule a little bit better. And let's start season 3. Let's get people excited about it again. Let's not wait another 5 years to release another season. Like, can we do that instead? Nonetheless, Its Motion says, I think it could be a bit better paced. I enjoy it though. I mean, I can understand why people enjoy it. It's got like this dynamic aspect to it that's like kind of just fun to watch. And at times I found myself saying like, oh my god, this is actually kind of fun. But then like episode to episode, I didn't feel that way. It was like a mix feeling of things. Wait, there's only 5 episodes left? Oh no, they gotta ramp it up. No, there's not 5 episodes left. I've seen 5 episodes, but there's only gonna be like 3 episodes. Oh wait, but there's 7 episodes right now. So yeah, if you've seen up until episode 7 for Lazarus, there's only going to be like 5 or 6 episodes left at the most. So like, what are they doing with the plot? They gotta speed it up unless they're just gonna be like, all right, we found Dr. Skinner in episode 11 and we solved it all by episode 13. Like, that sounds very like unsatisfying. Yes, Recovering Elitist, Vinland Saga season 3 is absolutely needed. So yes, this is a call out to Mappa to say, we love it when you do really good original anime, but can you take the time to focus on perhaps the production of season 3 of Vinland Saga? Yeah, considering you also have Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, and Hell's Paradise that you're trying to like do actively and complete. Nonetheless, all right, Moonrise. Moonrise, I know there was a lot of controversy about the fact that Moonrise was released in one big batch. There's like, what, 18 episodes, I believe, which I'm not even through yet. I'm going to tell you, I'm not even through yet. There's a lot of people who really, really love it. I am on episode 7. I like the premise only because it's giving me pseudo Gundam vibes where you've got this colony on Earth and Earth created the colony, but since it's a colony that kind of belongs to Earth, they want their independence. They don't want to be suppressed by Earth anymore. And I mean, it's fun. It's got really nice animation. And I like the characters. I like the character designs for people who love Full Metal Alchemist. The designs were created by the same person who like created Full Metal Alchemist. But, you know, I don't know, again, if it's just me. Like, I'm watching episode to episode, and some episodes are really good. Other episodes are like, okay, they're explaining the backstory, they're explaining the plot, but it just feels like a slog. Like, I'm like dragging myself to finish Moonrise, and I just don't know what it is. So I'm going to try to complete it. So this is living actually like, I don't know if I want to say it lives like between I like it, it's good, / it's okay. I think it's okay more accurately like reflects my feelings because I have a lot of mixed feelings about Moonrise. Because I love the action scenes. I think the action scenes are beautifully animated, and that's thanks to Wit Studio being in charge of the animation creation, the production, however you want to call it. I like the sci-fi aspect, the way that they're able to move through gravity on the moon, like with technology and stuff like that. I think what I really want to know and figure out soon is the motivations of like Bob Skylum and why he decided to like you know attack Earth, like terrorist attack. There's a lot of political messaging in it that I enjoy, and that's kind of what caused me to want to watch this in the first place. But I think there's like a lot of downtime between like moments that I'm just like, okay, this is a moment for some character development. This is a moment for us to get to know some of the characters more and connect with the characters more. But like, how connected do I feel to the stories of these characters? I think that's sometimes where I struggle. Like, aside from our main character, who seems to be the one that we're trying to understand the most, some of the other characters that we get exposed to, we get some story behind them, we get some motivation behind them, we get some of the understanding of their struggle. But at the same time, it feels like some of the other characters are still very shallow. And I think they're trying to explore that, but I feel like we're not there yet. That's why I want to give it some more time, and maybe these mixed feelings I have will be clarified. Cyborg Frankie says Moonrise is okay. I mean, I see like people saying like it's great. Some people saying like, oh, it was good. It's been a mixed bag of feelings, and I feel like my feelings may reflect like a group of people's feelings jumbled in a bag, and then you kind of just pull out mixed feelings. That's how I feel. Um, hmm. Cyborg Frankie says I'm only halfway through though. Yeah, I mean, like, let me know your thoughts if you finish it. I'm not even halfway through. I'm almost halfway through. Like, if I was at episode 9, then I could fully say I'm halfway through. I've yet to watch Moonrise, and it's on my list to watch soon for the animations that I saw. I mean, the animation's absolutely beautiful. They do a really good job with action scenes and the sci-fi element, and just like how they're exploring the moon and trying to go on their like reconnaissance mission, a reconnaissance slash assassination mission to take out the terrorist who attacked Earth, Bob Skyla. So like there's a lot of beautiful action sequences, and there's some really good, I think, like emotional moments for us to connect with some of the characters. But I think there's also a lot of downtime that you end up sitting there and it's like, okay, what's going on? What are we doing? They also try to play into this like humor element at times that just doesn't quite hit. And I'm just like, this show feels like it's a show that's supposed to be like really high tense considering like what's going on. And I understand like the humor is to help like diffuse some of that, because when you're at war, or when you're like you've been attacked by another nation or something like that, sometimes living your life in complete doom and gloom gets you nowhere. And the main character, can't remember his name right now, I think he's always had like this humorous side to him, and he's trying not to let like what's going on bog him down, and he tries to use humor at times to like diffuse like the moments. But obviously like there's a complete tonal shift at some point due to some certain events, and it's just like, yeah, understandable. This is what should happen to his character. But like moments prior to that, it felt like some of the humor was like a little bit forced. I don't know if it felt like out of place. It was just strange. I would say like some of the writing perhaps it's just like, I don't know if this is selling me yet. But yeah, that's my personal feelings on Moonrise. I think that I do want to keep watching it though to see where else it goes. And I'll let you know how I feel like by the end of the season. Has anyone here completed Moonrise yet and like have like a full like I like it, I love it, it's okay, like feeling and consensus about it? All right, cool. I feel like we're making good progress on this list. I think there's like 10 or 12. Next one is Coulon's Generic Romance. So Coulon's Generic Romance is really interesting because after watching the first episode, I saw a lot of manga readers just being like, whoa, they completed the first episode with like 7 to 8 chapters of the manga. Mind you, the manga has 70 something chapters up until this point, still ongoing, and it's in its final arc. So we're talking about speedrun adaptation. This made manga readers kind of upset. And to be super frank, I think I'm enjoying the anime for what it is because I've yet to read the manga like in full. But in seeing manga readers complaining about the pacing of adaptation, I say, I'm actually kind of curious about the manga, so let me start reading it. Up until this point, I've read about 11 chapters of Coulon's generic romance. And I will say that maybe they do speed up the process in terms of like the relationship between Kuro and Kujirai-san. They there are like smaller nuances in the manga that are like showing like the intimacy or lack of intimacy or like certain like mannerisms or micro expressions of these characters that to some extent I could be like, okay, I kind of get what the anime is doing. They're trying to like speed it up, especially because they're actually trying to complete the entire story of Coulon in one season. Like what we get is what we get. By the end of like season 1 is going to be the end of the series. And people have theorized or talked about that since Coulon the manga is ending soon, like it's in its final arc, they think that the animators may have either gotten a sneak peek into the ending, so they're going to animate the ending, or they're going to come up with their own ending, I think with the approval of the mangaka. Also, there's a live action that they're supposed to be doing for Coulon's generic romance that might have like more detail in it. That's kind of supposed to be like a component or a counterpart of the anime, which I probably won't be watching. I'm not necessarily interested in watching a live action of this, to be honest. But yes, Nina, yes, Coulon generic trauma sounds on point. Saint Shade, that one is almost my favorite series this season. I but that aside, yes. I think like I'm enjoying it for what it is. Like there's not a lot of romance in it. I want to say like the romance between Kujirai and Kuro is like less I feel like it's less about like this romance ish between them. It's more about like I think to Shade's point, tragic romance story where Kuro was in love with Kujirai-san, but Kujirai B or Kujirai A, but for the story they're calling her Kujirai B. She's gone. Now we have Kujirai A, the Kujirai that we've been introduced to in the story that we're mostly falling along with. And then it's like there's this one-sided love, it seems like, for everybody. Like Kujirai B was absolutely in love with Coulon, OG Coulon. Then Kuro-san fell in love with Kujirai B. And then Kujirai B is no longer around. And then comes Kujirai A, the one that we know, who falls in love with Kuro. And Kuro is kind of using Kujirai A, the one that we know and we're following in the present of the story, as like a way of him to stay attached to his love and attached to like the Kujirai he used to know. Like it's all sorts of like messed up because it feels like you're just watching a lot of people like cling on to these concepts and ideas, just like people are clinging to the idea of Coulon. Yeah, episode 7 was absolutely crazy. That's the one that dropped yesterday, right? Yeah, man. I was really happy for like Kujirai when she was like, I want to travel, I want to leave, I want to see the world in episode 6, and then come to find out she can't leave. She can't leave or she might disappear. Yeah, Joel, it's a little bit complicated, but if you watch, like, you'll start to follow. I do like the interesting components of it where they're talking about like gems, like zirconians, like how cubic zirconia, which is a rock that is supposed to emulate a diamond, but it's not a diamond. It's a fake diamond. It's not the true gem, but it's a rock of its own, right? They're two different rocks. That's the best way I could explain it. And the whole aspect of Coulon generic romance is this messaging about being your absolute self, even if like you're not as like authentic, or not authentic, but even if you're not as like, pretty looking as the diamond, or maybe you're not as alluring as the diamond. And this is kind of used in comparison with Kujirai B and Kujirai A, for lack of better words. Nina, yes, Kujirai B is voiced by the same person who voices Nico Robin, Japanese, from One Piece. When I heard her voice, I think in episode 2, I was so excited because it's not often that you hear voice actors, especially in Japan, from One Piece doing other shows because they're so preoccupied with One Piece, right? When we got like Turbo Granny from the same voice actor as like Luffy, I was like, wow, I don't think I've ever heard her do anything like outside from Luffy. I know she's done other work, but I don't think I've seen her like in present time do anything outside of Luffy. So to hear Nico Robin's voice like in Coolon's generic romance, I was very like happy about that. But nonetheless, I am like, I'm gonna say that I'm loving it and didn't expect to love it this much, despite the fact that this is like a complete like speed run of the manga. I don't know much outside from the manga. I don't know like how it correlates much yet. I wanted to really read and do a comparison. But to be super frank, I think I'm enjoying it for what it is. Is it really giving me the romantic vibes that I wanted? Not really. Is it really like, does it really have me hooked on the sci-fi mystery part? Absolutely. Like the idea of clones, the idea of like connecting it back to like parts of science where we're talking about geology and different rocks. But I was just like, you know what? Even if this is not like the best adaptation from the manga, even if this isn't like one-to-one in terms of pacing with the manga, I am enjoying the story very much so regardless. Yes, the alien also was Zoro in Dandadan. Yeah, I think that like Turbo Granny's like voice acting placement was absolutely genius. I can't see Turbo Granny being voiced by anyone else now. Joel says, I might start it because I need to watch some more romance. I have only watched one. If you don't count Berserk, JK. I mean, I haven't watched Berserk. I refuse to touch that. That's one thing that I will never go near just due to my preferences in anime. So there's no point in me doing that. But I will say that Coolon's generic romance is worth a watch, if not for like the tragic romantic component that both Nina and Saint Shade have highlighted. I think like you'll enjoy the mystery sci-fi component a lot. But I wouldn't say like go into this expecting like a traditional romance. I'll just say that. Zoro's voice actor, Japanese VA, voices Obi in Fire Force. Yeah, tell me how I just noticed that recently. Like, as I was listening to him in like episode 3 or 4 when he's like flexing his muscles like crazy, I was like, hey, wait a second. This is Zoro's VA. How did I not notice this before? And then like I started doing some digging and I was like, actually, Zoro's voice actor does a lot of side work. Go figure. Anyway, Nino is fine as. Yes, he is. I mean, Fire Force is just more eye candy, right? They have fan service in it. Quite a lot of it. It's part of the story. Otaku News says, I only want to see how Lazarus ends, but the show is boring. A possible world-ending event that hardly shows what's going on in the world. That is a really good point. I feel like if they showed like the effects of the drug and maybe, I mean, I don't know what to say. They're giving us this clock and this countdown in every single episode where it's like 24 days left, 25 days left, 26 days left. I know I did that in reverse, but they're giving us this countdown, but we don't see like what the real consequences are. That's why I feel like the way that the story is pacing, it low-key feels like they're just gonna give us a cop-out ending. Like episode 7 with minimal progress doesn't scream, let me keep watching this. Almost want to just like live vicariously through people who are really enjoying it so they can tell me how it ends instead of me watching it. Nonetheless, Zoro's VA is also in Gintama. Really? Okay, see, Gintama is one of those shows that I want to pick up, but because I know it's like just as long as One Piece, I am trying to like dedicate myself to just like one type of One Piece, and that's One Piece. I don't think I can watch anything else that is like as long, and still try to enjoy other anime. I don't know. Anyway, moving on. So this one is, and I forget the name. I think it's called Rock is a Lady's Modesty, but someone please correct me. This one was not originally on my list, especially when I did my spring 2025 video of what I'd be watching this season. Joe from Life with Anime podcast started watching it, and he said it was great. Told me to make time for it, so I made time for it. It is actually so much fun. I am enjoying it a lot. And I think it might be just due to like the music component and the rock component. Rock music is just really interesting in its own way. And it's really cool to see like these really posh young women going to this prestigious like high school. New Toxic Beauty is absolutely fire. Yeah, I have just really been enjoying this. I don't know if I will say like it's great as expected or it's great in general. I want to say that it's more like I like it. It's good. I've been having a lot of fun with the different characters. I've been having a lot of fun with how posh and prim they are, but then after a performance, they're like cursing out other people, cursing out each other. And I do like the rock element that they're putting into it. You know what? I might put it like in between. Like I go back and forth between this. It lives like in between great and in between good. I like it. Like I would give it like a 7.5. I wouldn't give it an 8 and I wouldn't give it a 7. I would give it a 7.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. So like that's where I feel about this. So I'm going to put them in between these two. But I just love like how hard they go at it. How like entrenched they are in the music, and how much they get absorbed into like this aspect of it. And it really plays into like these characters, I guess, true selves and wanting to be their true selves and find their true selves within each other, because they can't be their true selves like outside of this band that they're creating because of, excuse me, because of the rich families that they come from, because of the expectations that people have from them. And we see that more and more as they introduce more characters throughout the story. So I want to say that, like, I am really enjoying it. It's really good. It's on High Dive if you haven't watched it yet. If you like rock music and the whole vibe of rock that goes with it, I think you would enjoy this. It's just like a really good time. Like, I have not watched a single episode where I didn't like enjoy it, and I wasn't like, okay, when's the next episode coming out? Otaku news. Anyone watching Apocalypse Hotel? I heard Apocalypse Hotel is really great. I just haven't found the time to pick it up, and I don't know if I'll ever have the time to pick it up. Also, what is Apocalypse Hotel about? I'm sure I could just look it up, but I'm curious to know what Otaku News has to say about that. Also said by Otaku News, most of the time, music anime is really good. Yes, it is. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about sports anime. I mean, it really depends on the sports anime because I feel like there's more and more coming out. But music anime like Bocchi on the Rock, that one was like really, really good. I loved it so much that I was like, whoa, I've been sleeping on this anime. Like, I watched it 2 years after its release. I was like, this anime is really freaking good. Because, like, how do I say this? Like, just seeing Bocchi's dedication to wanting to learn the guitar, because she's an introvert, she gets very anxious, she has like social anxiety, and she wants to be able to like connect with people, she wants to be able to make friends, and she uses rock music and learning the guitar as a way of doing that. But then she finds herself still struggling with that. But when she plays the guitar, she's just so badass, and she's able to connect with people through music, which I found so lovely, which is kind of something that we're also seeing in Rock is a Lady's Modesty. Like, people who are like very uptight that come to discover these girls playing hardcore rock music find inspiration, find connection in some of their music, and wanting to basically be a better or truer version of themselves. The recovering elitist. I was a band kid, so it resonates with me uniquely. It's very accurate to how musicians think and act. Okay, very cool. I never really like played music like that. My dad is really into like instruments, so I feel like I was kind of coerced into playing a lot of musical instruments. Like it's always fun, but it was never something that I was like, "Oh, I love playing musical instruments." I do enjoy listening to it. I do enjoy like seeing musicians like in their own world, but as for like me wanting to like actively play an instrument, I don't think that's for me. But it's really interesting to know that like, from your perspective, someone who's been like in band or been part of a group, plays instruments or plays music, that this is very accurate to like the mindset or the thought process. Joel, the only rock I like is from Nana. I have not seen Nana. I heard it's great. I just the watch list is this long, so we'll get to it someday. But yeah, I did hear that there's like rock component in that too. Another one musical wise that I really love that Preston from Life with Anime podcast loves to talk about is Your Lie in April. I mean, you can't watch that without crying. Even if you watch it multiple times, you still end up crying. Otaku News: Apocalypse Hotel humanity has left Earth because of a disease, and AI robots are left to run a hotel until humanity returns. It's surprisingly good. Huh, interesting. That kind of reminds me of Nier Automata, where like all the androids are fighting this war on Earth, and humanity is like on the moon, and they're fighting this war until humanity comes back, and they're all like AI, kind of similar to this. That actually sounds really interesting. That might be up my alley, so I might check it out, especially if I truly, truly end up dropping Lazarus, because it's giving me drop vibes. Okay, moving on. So, next on the list is Sentai Daishikaku, or otherwise known as Go-Go Loser Ranger. That's on Disney Plus or Hulu, depending on which country you're in. I don't know how many of you watched season 1 of this. Season 1 was, for lack of better words, a disaster. It was a mess because they chopped the story like really, really badly. They just like sped through like 20 chapters, I think, between like 2 different episodes. And from what I saw when it was airing, season 1, lots of people were like really confused. They were like, what is going on? I don't understand the story. I don't understand the premise. Like, what is happening? And as someone who even reads the manga, I even had to sit back and be like, what is going on? What's happening to the story? I don't like what they're doing with season 1. But I'm here with good news because Go-Go Loser Ranger season 2 has been so good so far. I think there are about 5 episodes, with the 6th episode dropping today. So I'm going to say this is great as expected because they are covering all of the scenes, especially the important scenes, well this time. It is better paced. And they're weaving in like the next part of the story or the second half of potentially season 2 into like the episodes already, despite them being trapped at this school. So this school trapped arc that they're in is going to be followed by the arc that they've been hinting about with this whole disturbance going on at the zoo, right? And this next arc is, I am fingers crossed hoping that they animate it. It's going to be absolutely crazy. But if you haven't seen Go-Go Loser Ranger, it's basically a version of the Power Rangers known as the Dragon Keepers, right? And they are not the good guys. They are actually the bad guys. They're really like evil. And I think if you've seen the clips, everyone knows how unhinged Red Ranger is. Red Ranger basically makes the series. Seeing unhinged Red Ranger is quite possibly some of my favorite parts, especially if you're reading it in the manga. It's really brutal, like really brutal. So I'm happy to see like the animation capturing this like charismatic Red Ranger who leads the group but is like sadistic and wild and unhinged, and you know there's something off about him. The story, as the story progresses, not in season 2, but hopefully we get more seasons, they explain why Red Ranger is like this. There's no justifiable reason as to why he's like this, but they start to explain like his backstory, and it is an absolute trip and a half. But going back to season 2, the school arc in which they're trapped in the school and they're fighting Magatia, which is the next executive in this story, like the next bad guy. If you think about the Power Rangers, like week to week, there was like a different bad guy of the week, right? he makes his presence. Some of the action scenes are really great. We get some backstory on the Green like battalion. Yeah, the Greenkeepers battalion. We get to learn Greenkeeper's true identity because up until like the end of season 1, we don't know who he is. So that's really cool. And seeing like Fighter D or Santuine D like really like start to entrench himself into the Power Rangers or the Dragon Keepers is really interesting dynamic as he gains the trust of these people even though he eventually is planning on killing them all. Um yeah, I need to get on that. I love the Power Rangers, says Cyborg Frankie. I think you would enjoy it. The manga has like a couple, like almost 200 chapters if you end up really being interested that you want to read. Otaku News says Loser Ranger is so far is fire. It's really great. And you know what? I had never heard of Yo Star Studio before, but I think they're doing an absolute fantastic job in animating this. Like, very surprised. Ooh, tier list action going on. Yes, a little bit of tier list action going on here. Derek, hey Mel, not sure if you watched Licorice Recoil. Yes, they do have mini episodes going on. That one is like quietly sitting on my list when I have downtime. I did see that they came out with some episodes. There's another one that came out with OVA. I think it's Konosuba, which I need to find. And I saw that they finally dropped the movie from My Next Life as a Villainess, All Roots Lead to Doom, like the movie that they came out with like a year or two ago. That's finally on Crunchyroll. So there's a couple of things that have been dropped that's not really part of seasonal spring 2025 anime that I do need to get to. Saint Shade says, looking forward to it. Are you watching Go Go Loser Ranger? I don't know if that was something on your list. David says, going from Red Ranger Isekai back to the psychopath. I mean, that's a great transition, right? Because Red Ranger Isekai was in the winter 2025. And then we get the return of wild, unhinged Red Keeper in Go Go Loser Ranger. If that doesn't give you Blacklash or Whiplash, I don't know what does. Hey, Chris, welcome to the live. Thanks for joining. We're still here. We're about halfway through this list, so let's keep going. But yeah, Go Go Loser Ranger. Season 2 is a lot better than season 1. So if you didn't finish season 1, I would say like watch season 1. It's a little bit confusing, but season 2 is so much better. They're explaining the story so much better, and the pacing is way better too. Also, the action scenes are easier to understand. Like season 1 was just like straight chaos. I'm just honest, straight chaos. All right. We've arrived at T-Bait, the beginning after the end, which everyone has, brutally attacked for its animation. And I think you can't dispute that the animation is not the best. And I think the author for the novel of The Beginning After the End has stated numerous times as to why he went with the studio that he did. All of that aside, and ACAT's reputation, the story is starting to pick up. This is supposed to be getting like 24 episodes, I believe. And because of that, there's a lot of build up to The Beginning After the End. Explaining Arthur's backstory, we recently had a time skip. He's learning to master his abilities more. And as of the latest episode, he has finally found his family again. And this is an isekai similar to Jobless Reincarnation, if you've seen that, Mushoku Tensei, but without the ecchi. Because while I enjoy Mushoku Tensei, the ecchi is what turns me off a lot. And I'm just like, why do I continue to watch this anime? It has a lot of like great emotional moments, but I don't know if I want to continue watching this. T-Bait is very much a slow build up, and I don't think we're gonna get to see a lot of like Arthur's growth and potential until like the second half of like the season or the next 12 episodes. I don't know if they're airing it back to back, to be honest. I can't remember, but they're supposed to be 24. It's supposed to be either split into parts or 2 parts back to back. The story is great though. If you continue, the story is fantastic. But I will say that the staticness of the animation does take away from the evolution of the story at times. Like I feel myself wanting to be there because I know what is coming next, and what is coming next is very cool and very exciting. Just seeing Arthur's growth, but there are often times where I just am like, I feel a little bored right now. I don't know if it's because like I'm watching people talk and everything is still image and there's like nothing really going on. Like I feel like you could watch this in dubbed and just like listen and not really watch because you don't really see a lot happening like physically motion wise, which makes it challenging from my perspective to stay fully like visually engaged. Like I'm engaged audibly, but visually I'm like, what's going on in this scene? The animation for that dragon episode was questionable. Yes, that was an episode like that's supposed to be like a highly anticipated episode because that's the point. Like Arthur's journey is supposed to take this massive trajectory. Him meeting this dragon like sets him on this wild journey that is Tibet. Without this dragon, I don't think we would have the Arthur that we have today. So, yeah, questionable is a great way to say that, Nina. It was interesting to see. I think, but to be honest, I think that was one of my favorite episodes because of the connection that we see built between Sylvia and Arthur. But it was just like there's no motion. The motion is weird. The attacks and the action is weird. Like I'm really trying to like pay attention visually, but you guys are not. You're not keeping me. So for that reason, it's okay, and I have mixed feelings about the animation. And while great animation or good animation doesn't always make a great anime, I do think that the way that this is being adapted, with the fact that the beginning after the end is kind of slow to pick up in the beginning, makes it hard for people to want to stay engaged and pay attention. That's basically my whole consensus on that. I'm just going to leave that there. Joel says, have you heard about Dogs Red? It's a new manga on Shonen Jump that's about ice hockey, and it looks kind of cool. I have been seeing that on the Manga Plus app, which is the app that I read most of like Shonen Jump stuff on. I don't think it has the totality of everything from Shonen Jump, but it's like Jump Plus that's mostly on there. Sometimes Shonen Jump stuff. Other Jump magazines are kind of blended on Manga Plus, and I kind of just read there for free. Anyway, the connection was great, but the CGI was not it. Yeah, Nina, it was a good episode for that reason, like storytelling wise, but yeah, it wasn't selling. Now, another show that is doing, I don't know if I guess you could call it CGI, let's just say it's 3D and 2D artwork, which was throwing a lot of people off in this next anime, To Be Hero X. All right, how many of you are watching To Be Hero X? Because this has been criminally, like criminally good. It is, I love it. I didn't expect to love it this much. I do also want to state that it is not necessarily like an anime, I guess, per se, because it's created in China. So you would technically call this donghua, Donghua. This donghua has been like, it's giving like similar solo leveling cliffhangers. Like week to week, I am watching this and I am like, oh my god, where is the next episode? What is going on? And why is this going on? So if you're not watching To Be Hero X, To Be Hero X is basically a society or this world in which everyone has something called trust value. Trust value is how you are able to attain superhuman abilities, superpowers. And the power that you acquire is a power in which you want, like a power in which you believe in. And that's the power that basically you end up attaining. And when people believe in you, your power gets stronger and stronger. Like you become more powerful and you kind of like, gain more of the abilities that you believe in. And the story actually follows multiple heroes. So far, we've gotten, I'm going to say heroes in soft quotes because the latest story is questionable hero-wise, okay? we have gotten, and we're going to continue to be getting, multiple different characters, their perspectives on how they became heroes or how they became super powered. And just like, there's so many different dynamics to it. Like, the first person that we're introduced to is Ling Ling, who is posing as a hero due to some crazy circumstances that he witnessed. And his story is very much like the Cinderella story. We get 4 episodes of him that ends tragically, and then we end up moving into a different character who's known as Isol. Now, in this one, it's about a guy who has always admired Isol. Isol saved his life when he lost his parents when he was young, and has always aspired to want to be him, so much so that he's a stage actor who's acting as Isol for like plays for kids. But his story is like really twisted, very warped. And they were like, all right, we gave you a Cinderella story for the first 4 episodes in part 1 of whatever you want to call this. Now, for Isol's story, we're going to pretend to give you a Cinderella story. But really, it's more about like, you know, how Batman became Batman. I don't know. Maybe that's the best way I can explain it. But it just got really warped and very dark. And the ending, I don't know if anyone has seen the latest episode, episode 7. It's just so fucked up, man. What happened? It's just so messed up. I don't want to spoil it for those who have not seen To Be Hero X, but this donghua is extremely well written in how they are connecting to the different characters. I like, personally, some people don't like it. I like personally how they flip back and forth between 3D and 2D art. It it didn't feel like as organic in the beginning, like in the first episode, but they start to integrate it more seamlessly, and it really gives it a different vibe. Having Sawano Hiroyuki, who is known for doing musical compositions on Attack on Titan in '86, part of this also done the work on what's it called? He also did work on Solo Leveling. Having him part of this project really draws the emotion out of people as they are trying to connect us to these characters, and the way that they're able to like write a backstory or like a full character expose in just a few episodes, I think is like fantastic, because I don't that's not something easy to do. It's really not. Cyborg Frankie says the different stories is really cool. I hope they tie it all together. Yes, I think that is the idea, because I'm sure a lot of you have noticed right now already, if you are watching, that in Nice or Mr. Commoner's story or the Commoner story, within the first 4 episodes, we are softly introduced to Isol. Then they start Isol's story. Throughout all of Isol's story, they're talking about Lucky Xian. And in my mind, I was like, if they don't show Lucky Xian's story next, I'm going to be tight, because they spent every single episode mentioning her. So now it looks like from previews that I saw already of episode 8, we're going to be getting the backstory of Lucky Xian next. So they're doing this thing where in every single new character introduction and story, they are softly introducing the next character that they're going to roll into. My concern is, though, we're supposed to be getting 24 episodes of this, and if you've seen the trailers of To Be Hero X, there are actually like a lot of heroes that they have to cover. I don't know if they're going to be able to cover the extent of all of these heroes' backstories and still get to the tournament that they mentioned in like episode 4 that's supposed to exist. Like this tournament to be Hero X, like that's literally the title of the anime. If you want to be Hero X, you know, there's going to be this tournament, and people, I think, are going to be coming together at some point to fight in this tournament or to compete to be Hero X. So are they going to pick up the pacing? Are they going to shorten some of the stories of the characters? But because I can't see us doing 3 to 4 episodes for every single character and finish the story, unless they're intending to come out with a season 2 of this. And that's where question mark I currently have for the series. But overall, it's been absolutely fantastic. I did see the trailer, and the animation looked a bit like Arcane, which I did not enjoy. Yeah, Arcane is like really different. I don't think that I don't think that like that's a good comparison. Personally, I would say give like the first 2 episodes a try at minimum, and you'll see what I mean. Cyborg Frankie says Arcane was still good though. Yeah, Arcane was still really good despite. I mean, I think that's just a specific style for Arcane, but I think that like if you try To Be Hero X, it's gonna give you a different vibe, and you'll see it after like an episode or two. Like the way they ingrain 2D and 3D together differently, it's a very different experience, and I think that's why calling it out as a donghua is really important. Uh Cyborg Frankie says at least we get some closure with E-Soul Mel. I think I'm gonna go to like Otaku News closure question mark because, and I don't know if you noticed this, but with the end of like Nice or like Commoner's story at episode 4, you get introduced to E-Soul, and we don't get introduced to E-Soul in the best way. So I don't know if we necessarily have closure with E-Soul because E-Soul, he feels like he's brewing up something not great. It feels like he's brewing up something nasty. And if you notice God's Eye or whatever, who end up being an antagonist in Commoner's story, appears in his past version in E-Soul's story, so you get the impression that there's a time lag between these. There's a time lag between Ling Ling's story, and there's a time lag between new E-Soul's story. So how much time is there in between? And obviously what possesses E-Soul to do what he does in Nice's / Commoner story. So I think that like closure, there's no closure. And I want to understand like the different timelines between this, because I do think that there are different time gaps between the different stories that we're getting. And it's not necessarily like linear. It's like, oh, we're here with this story. We're going to go back 5 years with this story. We're in a different year for this story. And you could kind of tell just by the different statues and the different characters that we see in different characters' stories. Wow, that's so confusing when I say it. Basically, you can just see that they're all connected, but in different times at different points. And I think they're all going to come together by the end of this. Cyborg Frankie says, well, last we saw Ling Ling was Moon getting the pew pew. I mean, that's a really great way to phrase it. That's a really great way to phrase it. Oh God, Otaku says, I'm looking forward to seeing how everything connects. Yes, absolutely. I feel like they're brewing something absolutely masterful here, and it is my favorite animation of the season, by far. Okay, we got 4 left. Moving on to Vigilantes. Vigilantes was already like something that I was very excited about just because I watch the main story of My Hero Academia. I will say that maybe it's because it's a shorter story. Maybe it's because I think it's created by somebody else with the approval of the original creator of My Hero Academia. But Vigilantes started off like a lot better for me than My Hero main story did. I felt more quickly connected to Vigilantes, and maybe it's the fact that the characters that we're presented with as our Vigilantes are mostly adults with the except of Popstep. Popstep is still in high school, but Koichi is in college. What's his name? Knuckle Duster is grown-ass adult. A grown-ass adult who surprisingly has a job, and I was very shocked by that. But it has been really, really, really enjoyable for me so far. And it gives more like a more laid back story. It's not like, how do I say this? It's not as like, this is our objective, like My Hero main story. It's a little bit softer in the sense where you're just kind of following the characters around. So I feel like it's more of a character story more than anything. Like, yes, they have this objective, this mission to stop this trigger drug. But aside from that, I feel like I'm here to see the evolvement of Koichi more than anything. And I feel like I'm also here to see how this connects to the main story. I think without the main story, I may not feel as strongly about Vigilantes. I do want to say that. I do think that with knowing that this is a spinoff from 5 years prior and that we get some insight into some of the other characters that are introduced in My Hero Academia that we don't see a lot of. I think having that understanding and having that connection is what makes Vigilantes enjoyable. I do want to like say that. I think that without this having the main story, I wouldn't be enjoying it as much. But I do want to say that I think it's absolutely great. I love seeing Koichi's character and seeing like his growth, but also seeing like his waveringness, but he's still like very dedicated to the idea of if someone needs help, I will help them. And the interesting thing obviously about Vigilantes is that they've introduced, for those of you who watch the main story, they've introduced which Derek kind of alludes to, this character known as Standal, which is the blurred lines between vigilante and what makes vigilantes so dangerous. It's people who have their own perception of justice, and justice is like very arbitrary, and they've taken things into their own hands that you kind of look at Standal and it's like, that's not really justice, bro. That's just exercising your own terms of violence against people that you think have done wrong. And if anyone decides to help like a person that you deem is evil without 100% justification, you also deem them as evil. So it's like, okay, so like anybody who basically crosses the line for you is a villain. And you don't really have real understanding or justification as to like how you're judging people. Like he even calls himself like he's passing judgment when he finds villains. So it's like his introduction into the story was very much like, okay, we've got these vigilantes. We understand vigilantes are a little bit dangerous. And if you are watching and you see like that halfway point in the middle of every episode where like in My Hero they always show like a hero and they describe their abilities or what their quirk is, in this one, and I think actually this is at the beginning of every episode, they describe every time either what a vigilante is or what a villain is. And the definitions, if you like try to really break it down, are not that different. Like the gray line is very, very like thin. So I like that there's this like ambiguous morality that is explored through Koichi and the people he encounters throughout the story so far. I think that also is what's making the concept, the idea, and the story of vigilantes really enjoyable from my perspective. Its Motion says, I feel the opposite. Cyborg Frankie says, I hear good things on Vigilante. Derek says, Koichi seems a bit more relatable. Yeah, I mean, if you're closer to a college age, he might feel a lot more relatable. Knuckle Duster is really interesting. I enjoy his character. I understand some aspects of him and I don't understand other aspects of him, but I just think he's like really rough around the edges, and I would love to know his backstory, just knowing like some small elements about him, right? I've also been reading the manga as we go, so I'm excited to see what's next, says Derek. I have been trying to pick up the manga for this, but since I never picked up the manga for MHA, I just said, you know what? Hopefully this will get animated one day. And yeah, it did. So I got lucky. Nonetheless, Shade says, my friend said he likes him more than Deku as a better MC. I can understand that. And to be honest, like, I think this is what made MHA a little bit hard for me to get in at first and into at first. And probably what makes MHA difficult for people who are more on the older adult side, a little bit hard to get into, is that Deku is in high school and his mentality is very high school-esque. And it's just, as you get older, I feel like the ability to connect with action anime where the MC is in high school, the ability to connect and relate is just so much harder. And I don't think that like MHA has that going for people who are on the older side. So I think that's what I have to say about that. Derek says, also Pop Steps songs are bangers. Yes, I have been listening to her songs on Spotify. They have been good. They have been good. Hey, Spencer, thanks for joining the stream. You're never late. We're still here, and you could always come back and watch the rest of it later. It's emotions. I agree with all that. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the vibe that Vigilantes has been giving me. But nonetheless. All right, let's move on. We have 3 anime left. Windbreaker. Windbreaker has been interesting. Interesting in many good ways, though, because Windbreaker has almost always presented itself as we are like delinquents, but like this is a soft delinquent story. So if anyone wants to bring up Tokyo Revengers in the chat, please don't. They're nothing alike. Tokyo Revengers and Windbreaker is never, ever, ever going to be alike. Because one is about Takemichi, who has time travel abilities, and that show is absolute violence. It's just violence beyond belief. And people actually lose their lives in that show. Windbreaker is very much different in the sense where they're delinquents, but they're delinquents that protect their society because, like, they don't have, like, police enforcement for some reason, or they don't have other people to protect the citizens of their community. So they're kind of like this goodwill group. I don't know. Do you want to call them, like, what's that, like, community of people? Like, the Night Watch? I don't know how to say it. Like, they are the Night Watch or something of that nature. Like this community group that has come together, and we're like, we're going to be the protectors of the community, but then we also explore a lot of like their emotional backstories. They really try to do what, you know, some anime and a lot of anime fail at, which is have a lot of characters and explain their motivations for being part of Bofurin or going to Furin High School. So I will say that the way it started off was super brutal. Like, the first episode was called Rage. They came in raging really hard. And then that fight with Keel kind of ended. And it was just like, oh, this can't be the end of it. I want to say that them doing that and then now diving into a backstory of some of the characters and exploring, like, just breaking male toxicity and things of that nature, talking about just like being transgender or otherwise with Tsubaki-chan has been like very, very like transcendent for a story like this. And it has been an absolute like fresh of breath air. It's been like you go outside and you go skip in the flowers is kind of the vibe that Windbreaker is giving. So I'm loving it. You know, I expected to love it. I'm loving it. I think it's doing a great job. It's definitely very different from season 1 in terms of like how they're structuring it. Not necessarily like how they're delivering it, but how they're structuring it. And I think that they're still doing a good job in weaving in action, which is basically what Windbreaker is. It's an action anime, obviously with the subgenre being delinquents. But it has been doing such a great job of continuing to weave in action, even during moments and times in which we're exploring backstories. Sakura's character is getting a lot better, or a little bit better, however you want to think about it, in terms of connecting with people and relying on others, which I'm very happy to see, because if we were going to continue to see like more tsundere like Sakura, I was going to get mad at some point, because I'm like, all right, how long are we going to continue to play on the trope that Sakura can't connect to people, he's too shy, he has too much trauma. Like, I get it. It's understandable. And it's not easy to get over trauma. Getting over trauma takes a lot of time, and the trauma that he has lasted so much time that I can totally understand that it will not take like, you know, just a few months to break that. But I love that they are at least demonstrating small aspects of progression in his character. Yeah. Anyway, Spencer says, thank you, Mel. They are distinctly different, and Tokyo is a lot darker. Absolutely. Like, they are like worlds apart. Absolutely worlds apart. When I can find an anime that I can compare to Windbreaker, I will like come out with that. But it is its own piece of art. It is its own piece of work. It's completely different works of art and works of content, and the genres I wouldn't even say are like exactly the same. So, we're just gonna leave that piece there. Its Motion says I like Windbreaker, but I don't feel the way Joe feels about it. I don't. I'm trying to remember how Joe feels about it. To be honest, I know he likes it. I can't say like. I mean, I like it too. I think it's great. I don't know what else there is to add to that. Shay says you would not believe how much hate Windbreaker was getting during LWAP live last night. It was crazy. I have to go back and watch that. I haven't had time to watch it. But I mean, I think it's doing a good job. I don't think Windbreaker has ever not shown its hand. Like Windbreaker said, this is my hand, this is my full deck of cards, this is what you're getting, this is what we're giving, and we're not straying away from that. I think that they're just like diving deeper into that hand. So they're like, all right, this is one hand, this is hand number 2 now. You see both now. It's the same hand, just a little bit different, maybe a different color shade. I don't know. The choreography is on point. Cloverworks is another fantastic studio that is doing a great job with this. I think it adds to like the excitement and the allure of Windbreaker. I think that like that choreography really sells it a little bit better. I don't know if that makes sense. Derek says, I love how we got right into the action with season 2. Sakura's growth has been great to watch. Tsubaki's appearance threw me for a loop, but I'm just going to enjoy the show for what it is. All right. Shay says, it was getting mad hate for real. Undeserved. Oh, no, Spencer said that. Sorry. Joe was getting mad hate too. Why? Oh, Derek, have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a great week. Thanks for joining. Yeah, Windbreaker hate was wild last night / this morning. Oh, because you're in a different country, Joel. Yeah, I've been seeing like Windbreaker hate and like dislike on threads. I just think that people went into this thinking this was going to be a crazy delinquent anime, much to Tokyo Revengers, which is why Tokyo Revengers and Windbreaker get so much comparison. And I don't think people were reading between the lines in season 1. I'm just going to be honest. I don't think anyone was reading between the lines. People were like watching like this for season 1. And then when season 2 came around, they were like, what am I watching? This isn't what I thought I was signing up for. I thought this was supposed to be a pure shonen action anime with none of this like mushy gushy emotional stuff and like all of these different, characters that I'm being exposed to. But in reality, Windbreaker has always been that way. It's just that they softly introduced it in season 1 with the way that they were trying to explain some of the certain backstories from that other high school, Shishitoren. But they softly approached it. After that, it was like, okay, you should know that this is not going to be just pure action delinquent fighting anime. We are going to spend just as much time fighting as we are exploring the backstories of our many different characters that were introduced. And hopefully it's not like every single character, but the characters that are pivotal to the story. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it at that. Windbreaker, Tokyo Revengers, completely different. Don't go in expecting like Tokyo Revengers, but enjoy it for what it presents it as, which is very clear to me. Bye, Joel. Have a nice evening and have a great rest of your week. Thanks for joining. All right, we have 2 anime left. So, actually, I'm gonna go with Your Forma first and then end with Witch Watch because I am 4 episodes into Your Forma. Your Forma has been one of those anime that I have been struggling to watch because 1, I can't watch it on a regular streaming service. In the United States, Samsung TV picked it up, Samsung TV Plus, which you can only watch if you have a Samsung TV. Now, granted, I have one. So I said, great, I feel included, even though a lot of people may feel excluded, which is not great. And then I went to go look for it, and it wasn't there. There was like 2 weeks delay. And then when I found it, there were no subtitles. It was all in Japanese. And I was like, wait, how do I trigger the subtitles? So are you telling me this, like I have to watch this in Japanese? Because I don't see a dubbed option. Like where are the settings on this interface so that I can trigger the so that I can trigger the subtitles because I don't speak Japanese. So yeah, I quickly gave up on Samsung Plus service where Your Forma was supposed to be airing, got really pissed, but then I said, you know what? The premise seems interesting. Let me watch on the seas, the high seas. And I have to say that I don't know what's going on. I really don't know what's going on in Your Forma. Like, I understand the concept, but it just feels like there's a lot that's happening. Like, they're trying to explain things to me that I am not understanding, and I feel dumb. I feel really dumb. And I don't think I'm a dumb person, but I feel super dumb watching Your Forma. And after today, after watching like half of episode 5, I think this is going to be dropped. This is absolutely going to be dropped because one, I can't easily get access to it. Two, I am confused. Like there was one point where I watched episode 3, had to take a break for like a couple of weeks because I couldn't find time to watch it. Came back, started watching episode 4, and I was like, did I miss a whole episode? Is the pacing on this correct? I'm sorry. Am I watching the same anime anymore? So yeah, I don't know what's going on. I really, really don't think I can watch Your Forma anymore. I wanna, but I can't. Um, anyway, going back to Windbreaker. Nina says another delinquent high school anime I didn't like was Buchigiri. I did not watch that. Its trailers gave me I'm not going to be interested in this vibe, so I didn't even bother. Unfortunately I can't give everything a try because if I did, then I would probably have no time to eat, sleep, and live regular life. But yes, Buchigiri, I saw some people really loved it, and then I saw some people be like, it's like, generic. So yeah, I mean, it's good to know that there are other people out there that didn't enjoy it, because now I feel like I definitely don't have to take the time to watch it. Shade says, Your Forma lost me in the first episode. It was all over the place for me to watch it. I understand. It is really confusing. And like I said, I don't know. Is it me? Is my brain not computing? Like, am I not fully paying attention to what I'm watching? What is it? Its Motion says, I'm glad that Lazarus is not at the bottom anymore. Look, like I said, Lazarus, it's just, I feel like it's a fun watch. It's a fun watch. I think it's nice to ride along with, but I personally am just not, I'm not riding with it. Like, maybe it's just not resonating with me. And the fact that, like, this is going to be, like, 12 episodes, I find myself sitting there being like, so, like, where's the progress? What's going on? And it is making some progress. It gets better. But I just feel like my time that I'm putting into it, like, I'm not reaping benefits. Like, I don't feel fantastic after watching an episode. I feel like I just plopped myself on the couch and I was like, oh, I just wasted like 24 minutes. Anyway, Shade says it's a show that was made to make people think they can understand it, but in reality, not. Yeah, Your Forma is definitely gone. So we're dropping that, unfortunately. It had a really cool premise where, you know, you have like this chip on the back of your brain that everyone has, and it allows you to like collect your memories, it collects sound around you, it collects like all sorts of information, and detectives use it as a form to help solve crime. But I don't know, I felt like it was only really used once, and then they started diving into like the AI assistant detectives, like that these cyber investigator detectives are always partnered with. And as soon as they started diving into like how the AI was built, like what their black box was, like how their network was built, I was just like, I'm sorry, are you telling me? And the main character asked at some point, it's like, so are you telling me that these AI robots are human because of the way you've built their neuro system? And I'm just like, what the fuck am I watching? Is this what I signed up for? Is this what I thought I was signing up for? So yeah, Your Forma is definitely gone. It's like that. It's like we're talking about neural network systems of the building of human robotic AI. I don't think my brain is there. It's not there. And I read that the light novel won awards, and that's kind of another reason that propelled me to want to watch this. But again, not. I'm not engaged. It's not. It's not great. It's very confusing. It's very confusing. All right. Link Click. Link Click did better in my opinion. Link Click is a different story completely. Link Click is more about like time travel and stuff like that. And Link Click does make you think. Link Click at times does make me feel dumb, only because the concept of time travel, and everything that has to do with like quantum time theory is hard to understand. But Link Click is just really enjoyable. One, the characters and how they connect. Two, the time loop, like in not time loops, but how do I want to say this? The time paradox theory that's basically in effect in everything that's been happening. It really makes you sit down and wonder and think after every single episode, but in a meaningful way. Its motions. I need to get back into on Link Click. Yes, you do. There should be another season that is in production. I think that may be coming out next year, but someone could verify if they have definitive information on that. Yes, its motions. It sounds crazy because it is crazy. All right, last but not least is Witch Watch. So Witch Watch is interesting because I've seen the manga a lot. It's on the Manga Plus app. As of this point, it has 202 chapters. But whenever I saw like the description, I was like, this doesn't seem like something I would enjoy reading. Maybe it's because it's animated, but it's fun. I'm gonna drink some water real quick. I'm thirsty. I realized that we've been doing this live for over an hour and a half, and I have not been drinking much water. Anyway, I did not expect to enjoy Witch Watch. Witch Watch was interesting from the trailers that I saw because it was just this really goofy witch character that moves in with her childhood friend that she hasn't seen in forever because apparently she's in danger. Absolute insane danger, and the only way that she can avoid danger or potentially like her life ending is if she moves in with Moi-chan, which is the nickname for her childhood friend. His real name is Morihito. Nico moves in with Moi-chan, and Moi-chan ends up being her familiar. Now, the hijinks starts because she comes in, crashes through his window, and was like, hey, I'm here to live with you. Meanwhile, his dad has disappeared, and so now it's Nico and Moi-chan living in the same house, and he's like this really stoic guy, not very emotional, seems like a perfectionist. Like, he obsesses about certain things in certain ways that makes him really comedic. And then Nico is just like the complete opposite. Very carefree, does whatever she wants with magic, and doesn't pay attention to the consequences. Like, she can make things light. That's one of the magical spells that she does within the very first episode. Not only can she make like inanimate objects light and not alive objects light, she can also make people light. But when you make a person light, it also makes you lighthearted. Now, some of the consequences and the drawback of you being made lighthearted is that, or the object being made light, is that once the spell is done, the object gets really heavy. So similar with the human, if you become lighthearted, you afterwards become very depressed, like heavy-hearted. And now you've got all of these like heavy emotions. I like the way that magic is like used, explained, and the different systems and drawbacks that the magic has. And it's not like, I guess generic magic, like you can make this float, you can do this, you can do that. Everything kind of has a drawback. But I want to say, to Nina's point, because she says she loves Witch Watch, also love the anime references the weeb teacher makes in the show. Witch Watch is filled with other anime references. In the episode where they're like flying around because Nico says, oh, why don't we go outside? We could do activity outside and I can make everyone float. And they're all floating within this encased like like circle, and you see these people flying like they're in Dragon Ball Z, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is what makes the show funny. I don't think it's necessarily like Nico 100% themselves, or like Nico and Moi-chan's dynamic themselves, but they also introduce other characters, which makes it funny and continues this whole gag going. But like it's the anime references and just the very like blatant call outs to like real life. Um it's on my list to watch after it finishes. So Shade, so you know, Witch Watch is actually getting 24 episodes. So if you're waiting for it to finish, you may have to wait till the fall. I am putting this though in between with great and I like it, because there are times where I'm like, okay, where are we going with this story? And I think this is mostly like in the first two episodes. In the first two episodes, I felt like a little bit like, okay, this moment was really funny, but now it's been like 10 minutes of what am I watching? But I think once episode 3 hit, I was like, okay, we're talking about Hunter x Hunter references, we're talking about Dragon Ball Z references, we're talking about Demon Slayer references, and they're making fun of all of these different series in its own capacity. Hey Joe, how's it going? Welcome to the live, even though I'll probably be ending soon, but thanks for coming. Yes, when she fixes the window and broke his mug, like she doesn't ever like explain any of the repercussions for some of the magic. And I'm just like seeing her perform the magic and then seeing all the drawbacks happen, because one, she's not a super experienced witch yet, so she doesn't really know like what can go wrong. And obviously shit hits the fan almost every time she performs a new spell. I get Gintama vibes from this show, Shade says. Yes, it's giving that, even though I've only seen like maybe 5 episodes of Gintama. But it's very much like a gag series. It's nothing like I don't think you're gonna get like story progression in a way. It's gonna be like, this is Nico's life trying to become a witch, trying to like become a full-fledged witch, and this is all the hijinks that she goes through while Moi-chan is trying to protect her from the potential harms that are going on. But if I didn't mention, Nico has a crush on Moi, her childhood friend, and he has like almost absolutely no clue about it. And you can tell that he has like a feeling of like care for her, but you don't really know how he genuinely feels, because he probably has never thought about being in a romantic relationship with anybody. He seems such a serious and stoic guy, which adds to his funny element. Bro, I'm so far behind on my anime. I totally understand, Joe. I literally spent like this past week catching up on anime. I have been letting episodes just stack and stack and stack. This season has been really hard, hence kind of this title of this live. Has it been a slow anime season? Because if you can see a lot from my list, yeah, it's kind of split. There are some that I really love, and I will say that the ones that I really love, I have been keeping up with week to week. The ones that are like, I like it, it's good, and after, I've been letting episodes build like every 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll come and I'll watch a ton. Nonetheless, Witch Watch is a fun time if you like gag anime. If you like stuff like Nichijou, or you like stuff like Gintama, I think that Witch Watch kind of falls into that vibe. Also, the opening song has been really fun to listen to every time. The animation for the opening song, while very different from the anime itself, goes a little bit too hard. I don't know who they put in charge of the OP for Witch Watch, but they just killed it with music and with animation. But yeah, it's just like these really frantic, quirky characters performing all of these gags. Like the latest episode was about, and the irony, about Nico and this other character who I can't remember his name, the blonde crow guy. He and her decide to start a YouTube channel, but their YouTube channel essentially is not the best, and they kind of just do whatever they want, and they do all sorts of things, so you don't kind of understand what their YouTube channel is about. So Moi-chan, as the perfectionist that he is, as I mentioned earlier, he was like, no, you guys are doing it all wrong. I'm gonna help you produce some really great content, some really good quality content, and he does. So their channel ends up growing and exploding. They get thousands of views on the first video that Moi-chan helps them create. And after 3 episodes, they're just like, yeah, we got bored. We don't want to do this anymore. And at the very beginning of the episode, he says, "Are you guys going to do this and take it seriously? Or are you guys just going to do this and then just like drop it like every other person who gets into YouTube because they just get bored and quit?" So I found that really funny, obviously, due to the nature of my channel and due to the nature of being on YouTube. It often happens. We don't know if we can continue and stuff like that and doing content. Some people really do start and they get bored. The struggle is real in creating content, so I can understand, but it was just really funny to see it in that context. So I feel like the story of Witch Watch, or the show of Witch Watch, let's just say that, breaks a lot of like fourth walls that is very applicable to current day society, which also adds to its humor, aside from the fact that aside from all of the different anime gags. Shade says, "Okay, so you love Gintama. I need to get into some aspects of Gintama because I hear it's a really good vibe. I love comedy, and I feel like I would enjoy it if I enjoy Witch Watch. Nonetheless, Nina, yes, the Hunter x Hunter reference when she made Moi's hair long as fuck. Yeah, that was crazy. I was just like, oh my god, these things is what makes Witch Watch, I think, really enjoyable. Um, but yeah, Shade says I got a lot of other shows that I need to finish first, so I'm sure I can wait. I mean, look, I think everyone who's watching this and everyone who watches anime has this infinitely long watch list. We all day will be either cremated or buried with our watch slash read, like read list. Like I'm probably gonna ask someone to say, "Can you bury me with my watch list?" Because that's the extent. That is the extent of what happens when you end up getting into anime. Is you end up getting into more and more of it, and the list just continues. It's endless. It's absolutely endless. Um, Shade says Megumi Ishitani did the OP for this show. Are you serious? She was the one who made the fan letter for One Piece. I know that Megumi Ishitani has done a lot of great stuff for One Piece, especially in Wano. I think they're no longer part of the project since they entered Egghead, but they have done amazing things. So I can see it. I can absolutely see it. Um, its motion says one day. I have done a really good job, Joe, at curbing my language. I have only cursed like 2 or 3 times in this live. I've done a really good job. I have been training myself to find alternative words for what I would usually use. Where I would usually use an expletive. Cyborg Frankie says I'm close to episode 50 on Gintama, and it's just really funny, pure Japanese humor. Yeah, there's a lot of Gintama episodes. There's too many, says Shay. Yeah, I one day I'll find it. But anyway, so this is the extent of what I've been watching. I may check out Apocalypse Hotel based on what Otaku News had to say about it, because I'm planning on dropping Euroforma. And depending on how I feel about maybe episode 6 and 7 of Lazarus, I really want to see how it ends, but at the same time, I'm not very impressed by it. Like, the action has been nice, it's been fun to watch, but I personally, for me, I can't watch an anime purely on action. If the only reason I'm watching it is for the action, then trust me, I'm not really paying attention. That's basically what I have to say on Lazarus, and I won't be talking about it anymore. So yeah, that is the extent of what I've been watching, how I feel about them, and where I would basically place them in terms of like, should you watch them or not? Obviously, if you're not watching To Be Hero X, Cool on Generic Adventure, or Windbreaker, then go watch them. If you watched season 1 of Go Go Loser Ranger and was very confused, I urge you to finish it and watch season 2, because it gets so much better from this point going forward. And it looks like maybe they heard the complaints of people where we're like, yo, season 1 was way too fast paced. Like, you need to fix this. And they did. Absolutely did. I'm sure a lot of people on here are watching Fire Force, but I'm glad Fire Force has gotten to the point where they're starting to explain more lore now. And some of the later episodes have been fantastic action wise, and we're we're getting that progress that we need to finish the story, because this is only going to be 12 episodes. They need to start wrapping things up so that like we know where we're going towards in part 2 of season 3, like the last of this, because so far I am not getting like what I'm supposed to be expecting with the end of this. Like I know where this is going, which again, I have to say I don't completely understand its connection to said other manga, but I'm gonna see. I see already where it's connected, and I realized that in watching this other anime. But I was like, but how did this turn into this? Like how did this become this? Like it has the same name, but is it a coincidence or is it a different thing? I don't even know. Vigilantes, great. Witch Watch, great. Um, Rock is a Lady's Modesty, so much fun. I just really enjoy the rock component of it and how hard it goes. If you want to get into Gundam, like if you want to get into Gundam and have not seen Gundam, the Recovering Alita said earlier that what was it, Blood Orphan or something like that. That one is a really good entry point, but I will also say that the Witch of Mercury is also a really good entry point if you want to get into Gundam and have not. This Gundam G-Quax, feels like a callback to OG Gundam, which is giving me mixed feelings, but I'm still enjoying it. I'm enjoying the ride. Nonetheless, all right, we have been here for almost 2 hours. Wow, I did not expect this live to go this long. But thank you all for enjoying and being here. If you are not a subscriber yet, make sure you subscribe. I will be hopefully coming out with like content next week on this video that I've been editing forever. We are trying to get this video under an hour, as I mentioned earlier in the live, because I hate things that are longer than an hour. It's just my personal like preferences. If I'm going to create something, I need to create it like in smaller sizes so people can enjoy. So hopefully next week we'll have something. And then I have plans to maybe put out maybe 2 or 3 other videos before I go on like complete hiatus in July. But I'll still try to be present. You'll probably still see me on Threads a little bit active. I'll try to be active like on Instagram stories. But if you really want to find me, I'll be on Threads, 100%. Thanks everyone for joining. Make sure you like the stream. Hopefully you enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a great week, everybody. Thanks again.